And it's found in his journal on January 1st as he left for this training portion of his missions pursuit. And he writes this: I look too much to the past and maybe too far forward to the future. I dwell on things often, but I shouldn't. They bond me and enslave me. I hold too much. Instead, I should give to God. I pray this year I do not hold on to the past, but rather learn from my mistakes and move forward. May my burdens be lifted. May Jesus fill its space. I'm a wretched person when it comes blow to blow. Living lukewarm does nothing to satisfy my soul. May my warmth be heated up. May I boil and spill over into heating others' lives. And now may I just focus on having an internal flame that grows. May I find freedom in Christ. May sin fall under my feet. Joshua's prayer was not only for himself that his life might boil and spill, but his passion would spill into the lives of others to go beyond the mundane, to encourage others to go beyond what's ordinary, to pursue their own dreams to make a difference in the world. He lived to nurture the outrageous dreams of other people, however and whenever he met them. He did it intentionally through his phone calls. I know, because I paid his phone bill. How do you make 3,000 phone calls in 1 month? Emails, hundreds of them. Facebook comments, his posts, and even the old-fashioned way through the postal service, using cards and letters and notes. But in addition to his intentional way of doing it, and even pulling pranks on people, it occurred unintentionally all the time with Josh. And it occurred in ways that I'm only now beginning to discover. I want to share one instance of that. That evidence of that connection, that unintentional connection, was tucked carefully in the console of Joshua's car. It had survived a 1,000-mile retrieval from Florida by my brother after Joshua's accident. It had survived 5 months of my everyday use of his car and several internal purges of the junk that just accumulates in the car. And the only reason that it had not been thrown away is because I hadn't seen it before. But just a couple of weeks ago, I was rummaging through the console looking for some change, hoping there was some change in the bottom of it, and a piece of paper came out of the console and the wind caught it and blew it out of my hand and blew it out the window onto my driveway. I assumed it was junk, and I just kept rummaging through the console of the car looking for the change. And then I saw the wind pick it up again. And as it began to swirl, I saw that it was out of a coloring book. And so I shut the door and I grabbed in there and finally caught the thing. It wasn't simply a page from a coloring book, but it was the gift of a child. A gift given to Joshua the last week of his life. The one side of the paper was clearly of no interest to the young artist. It has a fierce-looking mechanical lion on it. It says, "Earthquake." But when I turned the page over to see the subject that had caught the child's attention, I saw that it was a superhero, captured in the midst of flight with the words, "Save the world." It was then at the bottom I saw the artist's name, from Joshua David Richard Perstrope. The identity of the artist was known to me. His dad's the pastor of the Hampton First Baptist Church, where our Joshua visited for the first time on Easter Sunday, 2010, and after the service was invited to the pastor's home for dinner. The next week, he sat in church with the pastor's 4 boys and again got invited home for dinner. Maybe there was some planning in that, I'm not sure. He was in Georgia all by himself at that point. It's likely that little Josh Perstrope, a first grader, heard Josh talk about his passion for Jesus and his love for flight and his desire to see people brought to Jesus Christ. But what little Josh Perstrope observed was a man who cared about going into all the world with the gospel of Jesus Christ and was willing to risk his life to do it. Jesus says in Luke 10:21, You've hidden the things from the wise and the learned and revealed them to little children. Now, I wish I knew what went through this first grader's mind as little Josh Perstrop leafed through the coloring book as children do to find the perfect coloring page. But what he picked seems to be just the right image. Not that our Josh would ever be caught in a yellow spandex suit, unless it was part of some outrageous prank he was involved with. But how wonderful that a little boy, a first grader, would see a superhero in flight with the declaration, "Save the world," and think that that portrait was appropriate to Josh. Every superhero, or every first grader rather, knows that the job of a superhero is to perform extraordinary feats to fight evil, to help people, and to ultimately save the world. But every first grader knows that those superheroes look the same on the outside. They look like the rest of us. They look like ordinary people. On the inside, they're different. Superheroes have been changed by some force, by some galactic power that they've had an interaction with, or maybe even by some tragedy that's befallen them. Oh, they might look like everybody else on the outside, but inside they're different. I can only imagine Joshua's laugh. He had a wonderful laugh as he got this picture and a great charge he got out of it. I could see him laughing and thanking little Josh Prostrup, and taking, as he did, folding this picture up, putting it in his pocket, accepting the child's gift, and putting it in the console of his car to save, perhaps even for me. Wow. To be associated in the eyes of a first grader as a superhero, can there be any greater honor for a follower of Jesus Christ to ever attain? See, most of us have never been associated with a superhero. Instead, we think we're just ordinary folks trying to make our way in a tough world. We don't believe we have the stuff to make the difference in the world. We are timid. We're uncertain about stepping forth into our outrageous dreams that God's planted or that He desires to plant in our lives. But it's all because we have not had that galactic encounter with God, the one that changes us on the inside